Blades, they had a really exciting one for their final match especially. They were running the old Best Friends Club in Rumble and Mordekaiser, of course, both of the champions, changing a lot since that used to be a combo back in, what, Season 2, Season 3?
Yeah.
But it did look really cool. They had the Jarvan coming into the jungle there as well, and then you get the Cataclysm, you get the Equalizer, you get all of that cool stuff. But here we are, into Champion Select for game number 1. Blade on our blue side to start things off, and Afrika Freaks will be on the red. So a bit of a color swap for both of these teams. Afrika very blue, Blade very red, and we've got them opposite sides of the map. So it's just a bit of a switch up.
Absolutely. And, of course, today we have the double play-by-play shenanigans going on once again.
I don't know what you're talking about, Brendan. You are an absolute analyst.
Oh, yes.
Don't you worry about it. Don't sell yourself short.
The Val analyst is coming in here.
Yeah,
that sounds a little bit dirty, but we do have some stats, at least, to bring in for the pick ban to help out with some analysis. Lucian has not seen any play yet. He's been banned 17 games in a row and now make that 18 as he's banned again here. We saw Syndra is going to be banned once again. She was banned 11 times and played the other 6. Has a 4-2 record so far, so she's quite a top pick. I'd expect an Akali ban here because Akali is just banned all the time now as well.
Look
now,
at you, I told you.
16 out of 18 games is Akali banned. We see a lot of Misfortune played as the 4th most presence. She actually has 16 out of 17 games in terms of presence, so only one game where she wasn't picked or banned. I believe that you and I were actually casting that game, but going to be passed over so far as Tahm Kench and Ryze come in.
Yep, Ryze going to be that first pick over on the Afrika side. Can, of course, be flexed between both Fly and Keen. Keen, fantastic on the top lane Ryze, much akin to his friend Noguri up there. And that's the Misfortune just locked away. Mystic not going to waste any time. And I'm actually interested. It's the first time we haven't seen Mystic on his very comfortable Varus. Of course, played it a hell of a lot over in China while he was playing for WE. But also, you know, an old favorite of his was that Ashe. And now he's just jumped onto the flavor of the month, Misfortune. Over the other side, though, this would be very, very standard. Tahm Kench, Varus on the bottom side. You can never bench the Kench. Sir Thomas is here to stay. And we've had this conversation with LS many, many times. Speaking of LS conversations, if I was to ask you why the Lucian is banned and you don't have an answer, Brendan, that is not because you're a bad analyst, right?
That's true.
Even LS has absolutely no idea why he has been 100% banned throughout this entire tournament. I've been having a look at OPGGs and checking it out, and the win rates for a lot of our players, regardless of which role, is very high on this champion. Played top, mid, and AD carry, and so very flexible and just very versatile, I guess, in this preseason. So just not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to play the mind games with where the Lucian is going to be going, as Braum looks to be the consideration and will be locked away. The understandable answer to that Tahm Kench bottom side of the map. So we've got a flex pick on Afrika's side, and then the bottom lane, and then you got bottom lane and jungle coming in for Blade. Still a lot of things up in the air for both teams as we move into the second phase of bans.
Yeah, and you were talking about flavor of the month. AD carry, Misfortune, and Varus are up there at the top. And funnily enough, Varus actually has a higher win rate, 7-3 compared to 7-4 of MF. And Varus is the highest win rate of a champion that has been picked over 10 times. So, very high win rates for both of these champions. We'll see if MF can get another point on her side of the board, as we are expecting Afrika to win this one. You were also talking about weird picks in the jungle here for Spirit. We haven't seen it picked yet. We've seen so much Lee Sin versus Olaf to the
I really hope it's not an
LS.
Olaf. I really hope it's
He's
not an
watching
Olaf.
at home. He's just like rocking back and forth in his chair. He's like, please not Olaf. Please not Olaf.
And also, the Lee Sin wins every single time.
Yeah, he does. He really does. And the one thing we're not going to be seeing is the Rek'Sai. So what'll be the ban? I don't think you can really target Spirit, though, because he's just a mastermind.
He does have all of those dark technologies. However, he's also played like 71 games of Hail of Blades Jungle Poppy this preseason.
Yeah.
Brendan. So
this preseason.
Some insane things. Plus, Poppy is a very good matchup into Lee Sin. So we might actually see it here. They could lock it right now, play the mind games with a mid Poppy, because we know Fly has played that in the past as well. It was one of his old favorites. And there we go. This is why we do the research. You know, we do the research so we understand that that is most likely a jungle poppy coming in for Spirit, or they can flex it around. Now, I mean, if Aurelia wasn't banned, it would be a great counter in the mid lane to an Aurelia if she was coming out. There are a few dishy-dashy champions that could be a little bit obnoxious, as there is the Aatrox being hovered, most likely for Wiser, and if they just lock Aatrox Control Mage X, then this will be the most standard composition that we have seen thus far. Exactly. This was, in fact, the debut comp minus a Syndra, because, of course, she has been banned. But this is the debut comp that Afrika came out with, and both you and I were extraordinarily bored looking at the draft. So hopefully this will be something a little bit more exciting. And Nautilus could certainly be that. Very brawly on Breon Blade's side. They are going to lock that one away. It will be the mid Nautilus coming in for Jhin, unless they want to switch it based on the top and mid lane matchups. Of course, both of them can be played elsewhere. In fact, Fly's been playing a lot of mid lane Aatrox, just so that they can have that flex available to them.
I was thinking Orianna potentially for Jhin can be kind of annoying against the Braum, so they go for the more brawly comp that you were mentioning with the mid Nautilus. And instead, because that's left available, they're going to bring that control mage over to the side of Fly, who does like his Orianna. So bringing that in to try to poke down the Nautilus, the melee champion in the mid lane, which can be quite annoying to deal with if you are playing the Nautilus. And yeah, I don't know about you, Atlas. I feel like the Afrika Freaks getting off to a good start here. I'd say they won the draft.
They absolutely did, because they have the Hail of Blades Poppy Dark technology that they can utilize against Doyle's actually very strong Lee Sin that he demonstrated against APK Prince. Maybe not necessarily the highest of competition, especially with Flawless not actually playing. It was Kuma throughout that entire series. And you know, APK Prince will be leveling up before they head into the LCK. Still certainly look like a bottom-rung team, but hopefully they are not completely hopeless when they get into LCK for the 2020 season. But these will be your rosters. Breon Blade versus the Afrika Freaks. BRB versus AF, which, as far as acronyms go for two teams facing off against each other, BRB AF is just fantastic.
It's about as good as it gets, actually. Yeah. I don't know if we've had better so far, Atlas.
Well, Jhin stepping away from his Syndra. They banned that on his side. He's not going to be playing his Rumble. That did look very, very cool. Here we are, game number 1 of the qualifying rounds. We're almost out of our round of 16, guys. Let's hit the rift for Kesper Cup 2019. Wait.
Really?
No?
We have so many people in the studio.
We're finally in the Nexon Arena.
We shouldn't have
to do this anymore.
Even Sunke, you know, Caster Sung on the Korean side, he's like,
wait, guys.
Hello?
Hello?
We have a lot of fans today, actually. The whole front side is filled up, and there are people in the back in the, I don't know what you would call those seats.
The bleachers?
The bleachers, exactly.
The bleachers, yep.
And we had no fan chants, so unfortunately, I guess we're just going to skip them this time as we're kind of too far along.
Don't worry, we're going to pick it up. We'll pick up the slack in game 2, I assure you. If
maybe we can get them to do it.
Do you know what's going to happen? We're going to do it,
and then they're going to
do it as well. Yeah. Perfection.
We're going to make it happen.
Well, it's a big topside invade to start this one off, Brendan. As Breon Blade try to find themselves a cheeky little poppy, but you can see Spirit put down a ward already. I love it. Does actually have Hail of Blades as well.
So they should know there's a couple of guys still in the jungle. They might re-invade here, but it will be spotted as they put down their own ward. Let's see what Wiser and Doyle do. They see 3 go in, and then they're just going to have to back away. So all of the information is actually given to both teams here. So kind of a funny start to the jungle at level 1.
Yeah, you can see Keen going to help out with a little bit of a leash, whereas Doyle on the other side, Wiser's just going to head straight to lane. So leashless start on the blue buff for the Lee Sin. But could just be vertical jungling for both of these sides. We'll sort of just moving straight down towards the bottom side, and we'll see whether they meet each other towards maybe the Rift Scuttler or something like that, as Henna and Minute very happy on the LCK special of the Varus and the Tahm Kench.
No Senna Henna today.
No,
unfortunately. It did get banned away. We talk about red side bans, how Lucian and Akali are basically permabanned there on the red side. And there's always that one extra ban that you do get on the red side. And this time around, it was the Senna, which is also a pretty popular ban sometimes.
Yep, Spirit going to be wandering over some more wards. I believe saw that one die, unless no, I don't think it was in the brush. So still information given to Breon Blade, who will know exactly what the Poppy's going to be doing. The reason why Poppy is so incredibly good against the Lee Sin is that he cannot safeguard and he cannot resonating strike if you have your W available. So you cut out half of Lee Sin's kit just by playing that one champion, especially in a 1v1 duel scenario. So you can see Breon Blade might just be a 3-buff start here potentially if he can take this blue buff away quickly enough. You can see the bottom lane rotating over as well. And there are pings out. Looks like Spirit isn't even going to make his way over, doesn't have a ward available or anything like that. And it is going to be that 3-buff start that we were talking about. So abusing the slower start that a Poppy will have as Spirit moves up towards the Rift Scuttler to try and at least get that extra experience and gold under his belt.
Yeah, no contest there by the side of Afrika, and you were mentioning how many games Spirit has played of the Poppy in preseason alone, 71 games, which is just nuts. Unbelievable. The amount of games he's even playing in solo queue, but maybe it's because it's good against the Lee Sin, as we're going to have a flash forward.
Yep, Spirit is going to look for it, just flashes over the top, finds Weiser, and boop goes the dynamite. Good night, Aatrox. You're going to have to teleport back to this lane and doesn't have his flash. So Spirit, he could even stick around. I loved the flash heroic charge just to make sure that he wasn't going anywhere. And Umbral Dash doesn't do anything because you got Steadfast Presence. Just beautiful. Coinciding with Keen's burst damage that he does have available to him.
Yeah, it's really good against the Lee Sin in the jungle matchup, but then you even get to see the ganking ability of this Poppy, which can be so annoying. For the top lane specifically. It was funny that Spirit was like, oh, you're going to take my blue and you're going to stay on the bottom side of the map? Okay, we'll just get a free nice little dive here. I'll communicate with Keen and we'll make that happen. Keen did flash though, and so Doyle is trying to make his way up towards the top side. He's going to spot Spirit here at the Krugs, but Doyle himself is also going to be spotted. So no harm, no foul. He might be able to take some of the chickens here, but Doyle's spending a lot of time trying to find Poppy in the jungle, which is not really going to happen.
Yep, is going to be able to take that chicken camp away if he would like it, like you were talking about. I don't think Fly's going to do anything about that one as his teleport now on cooldown. Jhin hasn't gone back just yet, but you can see Fly has been able to capitalize on his range advantage and just his being Orianna, who's just pretty good at killing creeps. Doyle denies that camp from the Poppy and does have a little bit of a camp advantage. That is only one camp in the lead though, and after a 3-buff start, you'd expect that maybe to be a little bit larger, but Poppy does clear out the jungle quite comfortably with that Q, so no worries there. Henna a minute down towards the bottom side, continue shoving things towards Mystic and Jelly.
Yeah, and in terms of the compositions, we talked about how we felt Afrika did win the draft, but more specifically, Breon's composition, it does like to get 1 or 2 items and brawl, as you were mentioning. They have a lot of engageability with the Nautilus specifically. Lee Sin can do his thing. And Varus, Aatrox, obviously great to follow up. They have some scalability with the Varus into the later game with a nice front line, but the scalability is obviously going to be in favor of Afrika's composition here with Ryze and Orianna specifically. Going to be scaling up a ton of magic damage coming out of that. Plus, in team fights, they'll have MF to just blow up the front line, as we've seen many, many times. So definitely an interesting one. Afrika getting off to a good start with their scaling composition is going to be great. Breon will have to turn this around if they want to make their earlier game composition actually work.
And you can see bottom side of the map is actually working out for Breon. They're ahead by about 10 CS. It's about a wave in the lead for Henna, who has utilized his teleport already. So Mystic does have the opportunity to go back right now as the waves are meeting, have all equalized. And he'll head back, grab himself his BF sword, and possibly just teleport towards this lane. So that could even things out. But elsewhere, I mean, it's just all about Afrika all the time. Keen 10 in the lead, and Fly also 10 in the lead on his Orianna. Second time out on this particular pick. Fly has been playing, you know, some of the more boring stuff, which is surprising for Fly. It's and I find it so weird that we had an Aurelian Soul, but it was Kuro and not Fly. Of course, Kuro also a notable Aurelion Sol player. However, Fly is the man that really does like the Dragon.
Yeah, I'd be interested to pick his brain after some of the Aurelion Sol changes to see if he does still like to spam that character. And we will be seeing him in the LCK still in the mid lane here for Afrika once that does start next year in 2020. So it will be fun to watch. You talked about this mid lane. Obviously, the Orianna going to be pretty good at doing that harassment, but early Merc treads and just the sustainability of the Dark Seal there for the Nautilus will be quite good at sticking around in lane. He's always going to have that shield available to just knock away some of that harassment. Doyle is going to start on the Mountain Drake here. Gets that one going for his team. Lee Sin can be quite good at taking singular objectives, so might as well try to get their team rolling with the Dragons.
Yep, speaking of rolling, we've got Nautilus making his way down as well, just to play some protection, and you can see bottom lane with that priority going to be able to head up towards protecting their Lee Sin. They take away the Mountain Drake, and the next one will be an Infernal. So we've got either Ocean Soul or Cloud Soul available to us in this game. Not necessarily your favorites, but we'll see who's going to put priority here on the Infernal. Chains of Corruption's land, though. There's the kickback, and they're jumping right on top of Mystic. He is going to get taken down. Could it be the double here as well? Down to 100 is Jelly, and the double kill comes in for Henna. And now the all-in on the top side of the map as well, as Keen will Realm Warp to get himself out of there. Flash is available for both top laners, and Jin is going to flash forward, finds himself the flash of Keen. That dredge line would have landed, so everything happening in an instant here and working out for Brion.
Yeah, Brion just opening it up really quickly as the trade looked like it was good in the top lane for Keen, but then he got caught a bit. Now, just baited into this fight, it looks like, is Afrika. I'm not sure if they should have been that far up the lane when they just saw that the Drake was taken and that Lee Sin is right there on the bottom side of the map. But just Tom Kent's getting a little bit close and tongue lashing, I guess, made them aggressive. So they were like, no, we got to go in here and fight. But that was absolutely not the time to fight for them. And they did get punished for it. The double kill comes in. And then even Keen almost died, as at least he was able to get away with some fancy feet there. I like how we didn't really get a look at the replay, but he waited for the final Q from the Aatrox, and then he went for the Realm Orb. Even though he got really low, he was able to calculate it in his head and say, I shouldn't die from the extra damage. I'll just wait until there's no more interrupts. That way I can definitely get out. And then Jin here in the mid lane with the Nautilus did try to roam up, but Keen did have some quick reactions. So you mentioned how the bottom lane was going well, how it started off well here in terms of being about 1.5 waves ahead for Henna. But now, after he gets 2 kills, that's a pretty massive lead for him in the bottom lane.
Yeah, even better for the Varus. Now Doyle is going to find Keen. Flashless here. Weiser does have his available. And now Doyle's going to show himself. Can he find the Q? He certainly can. A bit of extra damage, but misses the Q on Keen's side. That's a really cute little safeguard. Not sure whether it was necessary, but gets the kickback on the Rise, who just tries to clear the rest of the minion wave. He does at least that as Spirit turns up once again, just a little bit late.
Hey, talked about early game play with the Lee Sin for Doyle. And yeah, you know, the Poppy can be good if they're going 1v1, but he's been better at being mobile on the map and being in the right place at the right time. He got a super effective gank in the bottom lane, and then he goes up to the top side when the lane is in the perfect spot to go for a gank. It was just before Keen wanted to push the wave and then go ahead and back. As we're taking a look at the mid lane, actually, as well. You can get past the shockwave, actually, if you do get that dredge line down. So just showing off that mechanic, and it's the perfect timing. It's just really good jungling out of Doyle to be there, and it also made Spirit be out of position because he was ganking the mid lane. So maybe Spirit could have been in position in the top side because they should have known that the gank was coming with the Rise that is down on his flash, doesn't have much survivability, didn't even have Realm Warp. Yeah. So that would have been the perfect time to go for a gank, and Afrika should have known that. But because Spirit was trying to gank the mid lane and be progressive and aggressive with his ganking, they weren't able to make it happen.
Well, a minute now, maybe a little bit too far forward, but you can see that he's baiting for Doyle, who once again, Spirit, just a little bit too late. Stopwatch going to be utilized here by the Braum as Doyle finally does find it. Fly roaming on down as well. He will have dissonance to speed up maybe the Poppy if they want to. Flash comes out from Henna though. Now the answering teleport flies forward as the Demacian Judgment comes in from Spirit. Is it going to be enough though, as there's a single target? Shockwave, not what you want there, as Jin doesn't find it. Heroic charge and just destroyed. Nice punishment there, but the Poppy is still going to be taken down. Devour utilized to keep Henna alive as now Wiser dives on top of Mystic. Huge AoE damage out from the Aatrox, and they're going to turn it into a turret take on the bottom side of the map. Breon Blade playing beautifully in this early to mid game.
They really are, and as a team as well, this is what they had to do to get ahead. We're going to take a look at the replay, kind of baited into the fight again here, but this is only the beginning of a ton of action. The rotation was coming in from Afrika, and you were thinking, hey, maybe Afrika could turn this around, but immediate teleport comes in from the Aatrox. They have to back away. Spirit was able to bop him away. But in the end of the day, you saw a couple of, the Shockwave and the Bullet Time, they were trying to bring those two together. Jin went on a one-way trip. I feel like he should have just waited for the lane to push, and then they could have just dived, because Wiser was in position to actually come in and flank, and then they could have just done that except with an extra guy. So had he waited, I think that would have been a bit better. But either way, they do pick up a bunch of kills at the end of it all. The unfortunate thing is that they give the Infernal Drake away to Afrika. So it's a really good response here from Afrika to say, okay, we have the priority on the map because they're going to have to push and then back, but we're just going to respawn real quick and we can go immediately to the Infernal.
Kane making the rotation over here as Doyle has found him. The kickback is good. Kane going to have the flash, but the flash immediately afterwards onto Doyle. Punished instantly with the Shockwave. Fly instantly rotates over. Realm Warp now aggressive, but not going to be taken by any of the Afrika players. Good. Instant communication there to make sure that they're not going to go overly aggressive because Wiser was waiting in the wings, and now a red buff is going to be stolen away. So Doyle a little bit overly aggressive and will have that bounty taken away from him as, okay. World Ender does come in. It scares the Bramble back for a moment, but the red buff was secured by the Aatrox.
Yeah, just spotted there, and it did feel like a little bit of overconfidence. You know that feel when you're playing in solo queue as, wow, trying to dive under the turret here. Jelly getting so low is going to be able to back away off of that one, but Henna getting a great trade under turret to keep up that pressure. Currently 3-0-3 on the Varus, also part of 6 kills as the Lee Sin was. But you know that feel in solo queue where you're just like popping off so hard, and then you just make that one extra mistake where you go a little bit too far.
You gotta test your limits. You gotta test your limits, man. I completely respect it.
And in solo queue, that's fine, but you gotta be careful about doing that here, as, he was only 1 level down. I like the trade against Keen, but once you get that flash, I think that's gotta be the end of it, going into, zero vision here.
Yeah, and Keen puts on the sombrero, and Fly puts on the sombrero, and that's going to be it for the Lee Sin. No extra kills though, and they still are able to steal away the red buff as we have a look at the gold. 3,000 in the lead approximately for Breon Blade. So mid-game once again, a bit of a pain point for the Afrika Freaks. We saw that in their earliest series against Rocket players as well in our first series of Kesper Cup. Sorry, I had to bring it back. That was certainly a favorite of mine when you were talking about good old Rockhead earlier on. As now Keen does have a fair bit of damage behind him. Seraph's Embrace on its way. Archangel's completed as a catalyst there as well. Very old school on the Rise build, but will have a lot of scaling and a lot of power as we move further towards this mid-game. We'll see whether it is going to be the Righteous Glory or whether it will be the Rod of Ages. Either is acceptable on the Rise these days, but I think we've seen more Righteous Glory on the Rises of late, especially from the top side. I
like the Righteous Glory actually in their team composition, get the Poppy.
Yep, more movement speed is good.
Just get everybody in there and trying to engage. I know it's only going to give the speed boost to Keen, of course, but just they don't really have a hard engage like a Nautilus or something like that, so getting someone up to the front, even just for a route so that they can, get the MF to bullet time, get the sombrero, the shockwave to come in from the Orianna to follow up. I think that engage would be good, but as Keen, he will just like to scale up as much as possible. He is going to go into that Route of Ages. And, you know, I don't mind that either. On a different note, it does mean that they are getting their scaling earlier and harder out of their Rise, and that really is the name of the game. If they can keep this game at 3,000 gold difference plus Infernal Drake for them, and they scale up until about 30 minutes into the game, I think the game should be a Freakus.
And also, if you're accelerated and you build the Rod of Ages as well, it's going to be even more valuable. 27 minutes is going to be when it's reached those 10 stacks. So Seraph's Embrace just comes in, and 27, he's going to be getting so many statistics out of that Rod of Ages, as well as already the fully stacked Seraph. So just a lot of power available for this Rise as he moves down towards the bottom side of the map, and Shelly is going to be given over. Not going to see Shirley today, as it will be the Baz Kebab making his way onto the Rift at 20 minutes, so not enough time for Shirley to turn up. As Keen just going to avoid the dredge line. Jin throws it into Narnia, as our friend Bryce would say. Good old E-Jim. You guys remember him from Worlds, or if you watch the Oceanic League.
Yeah.
He likes it when things go to Narnia. He just does. He's a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But that is exactly where that dredge line was going as well, so I'm glad that he provided us with that context so that we could utilize it as well. Mystic farming things out as we wait for the next Drake to come up in another 8 seconds time. Jin going to dredge his way out of there. As now 4 members of BRB are stacked up. Chains of Corruption goes into the wind. As now a bit of a stun onto Minute. Grey health not going to be too huge here, as that's a gigantic amount of CC and a very, very dead Catfish. Sir Thomas deserves all the ultimates that you have, and he received them from the Afrika Freaks, who now can move over to this Cloud Drake if they would like to start that one up. The first team here today, so get it up to 2 Drakes in a single game. Absolutely incredible statistics. Of course, this is the first game of the day, and we'll be seeing more of these dragons, especially cloudy ones, as we move further forward.
And I love the way that Afrika played that. It felt like just better macro. They push the Nautilus out of the way, and then they say, hey guys, if you want to fight a 5v4, sure, go ahead, you know? And what happens is the minute he gets baited a little bit into the fight, just a little bit too close, and there is actually a healthy amount of pick power on the side of Afrika's composition, so just one thing led to another. They were able to pick him off on his lonesome, and you see how far Minute goes here. He's just ahead there in the front.
Yeah, just caught trying to work out exactly which way to go.
That's all they needed. And once they get that pick, they know the Nautilus is going to be out of the fight for the next 10 seconds because he has to rotate from the bottom side. So Afrika say, we can fight for the next 10 seconds. We'll disengage if we have to after that. But if we can get a pick, that'll be good because we can also get the Cloud Drake. So they do exactly that, and they make this scalability more palpable. You can feel it coming on now from the side of Afrika as they're only about 2,000 gold behind, and they pick up that extra Drake.
Yep, you can see, Hannah, we're going to talk about sort of damage ranges and things like that as Shelly comes down in the mid lane. Hannah is going to be going for that AP Varus. Not a lot of magic damage unless you count the Nautilus on Brionne Blade's side, so I respect it. Shelly gets a bit of a charge here, but she's going to do a lot of damage to herself, and then Afrika easily clean that one up. So no plate's going to be given over, anything like that, and that tower is going to survive as well. So Shelly really not finding too much value in this game. Doyle and Jin, the CC bros down here towards the bottom side, looking for a rise, but do not find one. And now the rest of Afrika just playing defensively. Wiser versus Mystic is not a matchup that I would want as a Misfortune, as Keen paying a lot of respect to a potential Lee Sin and Nautilus combo.
Yeah, and that's just really smart side lane play. He knows that if he gets picked off, it can just mean that maybe they just rotate 5v4 into the mid lane and take a big objective. It's more than just the kill. And he takes that
corruption. Yeah, Doyle looks for the Q, doesn't find it. Has its range extended a few patches ago, but it's not quite enough to allow that one to hit through the minion wave, especially. So Doyle is not going to be able to find yet another target. 2, 1, and 4. Since his last death, he hasn't actually been able to find anything else here on this map. You can see Spirit's build is very interesting. He's gone for the Warrior enchant. I was still expecting a Cinderhulk, but that is not the way Spirit wants to build. More of that Brawly style build. I think he'll be picking up a Black Cleaver, something like that, and might be the Sterix Gauge coming in or something like that. So a bit more Brawly coming out of him. see whether that is where he decides to go, because he's got a cheeky cloth armor doing not a whole lot. So might be opting in for Righteous Glory of his own, something like that. Eventually, we'll see where Spirit is going to go. Maybe just wanting to have those extra armor stats.
Yeah, it's cool because we probably have the foremost Poppy player in the jungle here on our screen. So we kind of get to learn and see if the Poppy jungle hype is real out of Spirit, the man himself. And see exactly what kind of builds he goes for and just observe and say, hey, it looks like he likes that warrior enchant, likes to do the damage. Just face checking here is Jelly.
Yeah, but they have broken apart Breon Blade. So 2 up top side, 3 in that river, as the Baron buff looks to be the area of contention. Afrika only 2,000 gold behind. That lead that Breon Blade had is certainly dissipating, as now Afrika possibly getting converged on. But they're playing the movement game really, really nicely here on Afrika's side, never letting Breon actually group back up again. And moving as a unit, there's going to be the Chains of Corruption as now Henna able to get some free shots off as Jelly finds a 2-man ult, but it's not quite enough. There's the ultimate, the Poppycopter does come in, but you can see Breon Blade, they just destroy Jelly, do so much damage to him. He has to go back home right now and can move on forward. Proto Belt there from Jhin, possibly aggressive. As the teleport is going to come back on through. So, Keen's going to pay a visit to this mid lane, and that should deter any extra aggression. Tell you what, I absolutely love Henna and his ability just to go in at any opportunity. It feels like whenever his ultimate is available, he's pressing that R button, almost no matter what.
Yeah, and you were talking about the movement. It felt like the second he noticed that one member of Afrika is out of position, he's like, guys, we're going. I'm going to throw down the Chains of Corruptions. Let's see what happens. And it hit Jelly, and then it moved to Keen. And that's what actually almost got Keen killed on the backside. He didn't have to flash out of that. He was able to survive. But I also love that Afrika identified that the siege ability on the side of Breon Blade is really not that great. They have a Varus, but everybody else is melee. And unless they're diving, which they could potentially do, but I think you'd have to come around the side. I don't think you can just do it straight through the middle. You'd love to get like a Lee Sin in the back and then get some kind of kick engage into a Nautilus Aatrox follow-up. And because of that, they weren't really able to follow up, even though they got the winning trade in the team fight. So Afrika correctly identifying what they're fighting against, and now they're setting up for Dragon.
Yep, Chains of Corruption off cooldown, immediately back on cooldown again. Single-man Shockwave is not going to be what they're looking for, but Jhin still has to flash to get out of there. Wiser turns up, and it was a 4v5, but not anymore. Flashing on in. Wiser gets exhausted, so can't quite do the damage. Bullet Time doing a hell of a lot of work. Minute, the Grey Health is going to be enough. And Spirit's tagged by the Q. Mystic turns it in the end. Jelly's going to live it. What the heck? We could have a quadra kill on our hands. Heroic Charge doesn't get the stun, but Steadfast Presence says quadra kill for Mystic. Welcome to the series, my friend. It took him a while, but now he's online.
Both of these teams just blasting it open. You saw the Aatrox coming from the side, and you're like, oh, baby, here we go, Breon. This is going to be the one that pulls it forward, but then Mystic just shuts it all down with an amazing bullet time that catches 3 members, and he cleans them all up with a couple of auto attacks. What a crazy team fight. You'll notice that he does the majority of the damage in the beginning, and then everybody's trying to, you know, just get away. Spirit does a great job getting that Aatrox out of position, but then look at this this bullet time. Identifies that all the Qs are down for Wiser. He knows that that damage out of him is going to be amazing. Then pop, pop, and then pop eventually here onto Minute as Spirit cleaned up the 5th member there under the turret. And that's all. It was all the Mystic show over there in the jungle. I'm getting chills on that play. This guy is an insane AD carry.
Yeah, that was really fun. The last hitting, the clicking on the heads towards the end there wasn't necessarily the highlight. It was getting into position for that bullet time and, like you say, calculating the Aatrox CC availability. That's what makes the best bullet timers.
Oh, yes.
You know? As Afrika, they're going to check this Baron as it's being taken here by Breon Blade. You see, everyone should be in position. Realm Warp's going to get Keen there, is down to 6,000 health, and I think that this is going to be a very dangerous Baron if they do want to commit to it. Wiser set up for a flank, but vision available for the Afrika Freaks. Breon Blade, they do have some wards. They do know that Afrika is getting themselves ready. Mystic has bullet time available again, and thank goodness Breon decided that they wouldn't commit to that particular Baron, because that would have been a disaster, especially with Shockwave and bullet time at the ready.
Yeah, everything does feel like it's coming together for Afrika after that team fight. They sweep them up. It's a total ace with the quadra kill going to Mystic. All the gold going into one of their big carries. Now they're ahead in gold, even though it's a minuscule lead here. But they picked up both of the dragons, the Cloud Dragons even. So their ultimates are coming up quicker. They're hitting that moment that I mentioned, around 35 minutes, where their scaling is going to come into effect and their team fighting is going to get better than Brion. It feels like Brion is kind of clutching at straws, and they're trying to force fights around the Baron that will be on their terms. But Afrika's done a really good job at not overcommitting. You know, their movement play, as you mentioned before, has been stellar so far, and their macro has been great. So I don't think they're going to bite the bait. I think they're just going to hold on here and feel good about scaling later and later in this game.
Now we'll see whether it's going to be about Mystic being able to get himself back to a better position. Of course, you can see 700 gold bounty somehow, just because it's been so long since he's died the last time, and since then he's been able to catch up on a lot of that farm. Just shows in the last few minutes that quadra kill, of course, helping out as far as the extra gold is concerned, but he was a 0-2 misfortune. He was basically a non-factor, and I love this. This is like, it's a demonstration of the difference between what this squad used to be, because Aiming was not a player that necessarily was able to make those sort of things happen. He often got into his own head, and Mystic has always been so calm. And so even if things have gone horribly in the early game, he's just often there. It's why WE was always touted as that 35-minute team, because you just could not count them out, because this guy was always so consistent. So the extra consistency on Afrika's side, certainly a team not known for that, is Jin. Gonna start this engagement. Death Charge, only gonna get a couple of knockups as Jelly is so taking full shockwave into the backline. The bullet time is there. Good night, Brion. That is going to be that. Jin doesn't have the CC for it, and this is what this composition was designed to do.
And this Afrika lineup, you were talking about Mystic, but they've got three different areas where they're able to attack from. It's Mystic coming in, it's Fly with the unbelievable shockwaves, and then Keen is always going to be a carry from the top side. That was the team fight that is going to break this game open, and Afrika should be able to roll and slide down the slide to victory from here, as this is what this team composition is meant to do. It's to team fight at 30 minutes. They hit the timing perfectly. Brion was desperately clutching at the Baron straw, and they got baited into that one. The mechanics were there from Fly, and oh boy, this team looking a lot more exciting than we were even thinking when we saw the roster in here. We were like, oh, okay, interesting. You know, Mystic coming back to the LCK, and you know, they've got Fly in the mid lane. Not sure what that means. Is Jelly gonna come up to here? But look at Jelly, big ultimate to start, and then a 4-man shockwave. And once you get that with this comp, it's pretty much over. Wiser trying to do his best, but then Mystic able to stopwatch here at the end just to make sure. They had already done all the CC and the damage there in the team fight that they needed, and they were just able to clean up from there. They get the Baron, and now Afrika are really rolling in this game.
Yeah, and there's now something really important that we need to talk about. I was going to ask you about it earlier on, Valdez. It was, what do you call the combination of Shockwave and Bullet Time? Is it Shock Time, or is it Bullet Wave? Because they nailed it in that last
Shock
fight.
Time is better. I think it has more shock value.
It does sound cool. It does sound cool. But,
it sounds cooler.
But Bullet Wave is pretty sick.
Bullet Wave,
and it also looks a bit like a wave.
Like what it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? But Sock Time sounds cooler.
Did you say Sock Time?
I did say Sock Time. Hey man, Sock Time.
I mean,
it's Christmas
do you have socks on? Yeah,
for all of us adults, you know.
Well, there's a one-man shockwave, and it's going to be enough to absolutely obliterate the Nautilus, who had absolutely no right to be in his own jungle.
He just used it. It's a quarterback. You know, the Orianna cooldown on the shockwave is incredibly low once we do get past level 16. She's basically already got it back. So the second you see anyone, you're using that ability. And unfortunately, it was Jin who has gone for a AP build mostly, as Henna, well, see you later.
And see you later turret as well. Yeah, no Varus there for any sort of wave clear, and that's going to mean base broken on the bottom side. You can see Keen, he's pushing forward top side of the map as well. I mean, these spell crits are doing 1,000 damage to these minions, and Wiser wouldn't be any extra lucky if a few of these stray Qs are going to land. You can see Spell Flux goes down, and Wiser cannot be in range of this Rise. Henna doesn't even need to be, though. Does land the Chains of Corruption as, we've got an attempted kickback. Good knock up there, and triple knock up coming out from Weiser as well. But the damage isn't quite available. Two-man Shockwave does come in, but Minute is the one that's tanking that one up. Weiser, oh no, he just can't make it. He's way too squishy at this point in time, and Afrika, they've got out their gigantic wallets, and they are thwacking Brionne Blade with them. These Nexus turrets are not long for the world. And Henna, there is no safety even on your fountain. Double kill comes through for Mystic. He really saved his horrible early game, and Afrika come out with a statement